going to do, video is going to be a little bit longer because I want to show you two different ways of making something look like it has depth. So I have here this flat little heart that I drew with the Pathfinder tool. I made two circles and a square that I turned on its side, and I tucked it in, grabbed it, and I used the Pathfinder tool to make into a single shape. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a box. So the first thing I'm going to do is make this thing look like it's cut paper. So I will take this heart and I'm going to bring it to the front. Object, bring to front. All right. And I'm going to copy it. It's sitting on this mustard square. Paste in front. Bring it to the front. And I'm going to take it and move it up and to the left. You can see now. If I go into keyline, Command Y, there are two hearts, one sitting on top of the other. And if I click on this heart, I am going to make this heart a paler version. So now I have a background color, a pale version, and a dark version of my heart. I'm going to move this one up. See how they're a little bit offset from each other? And now watch. I'm going to say paste in front again. I'm going to move this one up a little bit more. Now I'm going to take this eyedropper tool and I'm going to take a sample off this background color. So I think that you can see that by adding a highlight in one direction and adding, a shadow in the other direction and keeping this middle part the same as the background color, it pops off the background. Do you see that? It's like an optical illusion. And if you feel like it's too subtle, you can always go in and make this a little bit lighter, not as light as the highlight. If I'm going to do that, then I'll come into the highlight and make the highlight a little brighter. And so now it kind of looks like it was cut out of maybe a piece of cardstock, and I'm clicking inside the path and just kind of pushing it around. Okay? So that's kind of like an emboss. Now, if I do it the other way around, watch what happens. If I pull this toned heart down and I click inside the path and I pull this down here, now it looks, I'm going to make this a little bit darker than I did. So now it looks the other way around, right? It looks like the heart is digging into the background. So this is what's called a deboss, if it looks like it's pushing in. And you might have to play with this a little bit to get it to work. I don't think this works as well as the highlight, but it's not bad. It's kind of a down and dirty way to create this kind of cut paper shape. And again, I can come in and lighten that. All right? So that's just two ways, real down and dirty, to use a light effect to achieve dimensionality, kind of a cut paper look. Now, if I didn't want to do that, if I wanted to make this thing look like it was made in 3 dimensions and was catching a highlight and was catching a shadow, you've seen me use the clipping mask, but let's say you didn't want to use clipping mask. What I could do is, if I think about my light source, here is my light source up here. Let me go get the pen tool, and I'm going to draw a curve that follows the shape of my heart, the escape tool. All right? And I'll just edit that so that it just comes around and kind of mimics that shape. I'm going to do no fill, and I'm going to do a white stroke. And I'm going to come up here and get the stroke. And I'm going to come over here in the stroke window, and I'm going to say, show me the options. I'm going to make it thicker, I'm going to give it a round cap. I'm going to put my finger on the Option key as I click on it. Do it again, hang on. If I do that, I'm just selecting the path. If I put my finger on the Option key and click, I can move it around. See that? So I can move it here. And then let me come back with the pen tool, and I'll do another little piece right there. So that's kind of a down and dirty way to get a shine going on this side of it. And if I decided I wanted there to be a space here, I could come in with the scissor tool and cut here. Whoops. I was on an anchor point, and cut here. And if I click on this little bit of path and hit delete the key twice. So you see that? And then once I've got that over here, I'm going to grab it, finger on the Option key, finger on the Shift key. I'll do it again. Finger on the Option key, finger on the Shift and Option keys together, and click and drag. And then I can take my Reflect tool. I want to reflect across that axis. Pull this up here. And I think you know what I'm going to do. Instead of white, I'm going to choose a darker color. Now it's a yellow, but it's a darker yellow. See that? And then that can be the color. And then if I wanted to do a drop shadow, finger on the Option key, and then I'll scale it down. And I know I told you I very rarely use the shear tool, so here's the exception that I'm going to plant my marker here and pull, push this up here, make this nice and dark, and send it to the back. And so I don't even think I need this. And so there, the moment I put that drop shadow on the heart, it suddenly has acquired a space that it is sitting in. I think it's a little big, but I can do that. All right. So these little touches of highlight and shadow, they're very subtle. You don't have to do a lot with them, but with a little bit of work on top of your closed paths, you can do a lot to make your illustrations really pop. So email me with questions or Slack me with questions.